23F, graduate university this year, and it's been a struggle from start to finish. I lost my motherhood halfway through my studies due to a medical condition, and graduating this degree was always questionable. My dad was always supportive with studies but not much else. He only had negative thoughts on my treatment I needed for the medical condition, demanding that I woman up as it was selfish for me to go through with a treatment that would compromise my ovaries. He did, on the other hand, help me push through the final year, and now we're coming up on deciding on the graduation date. Going back in time a little, my father started seeing my stepmother, 55F, she and her daughter, 24F, both hated me and my older brother, 24M, they would bully us for being stupid, going nowhere in life, etc., obviously all behind my dad's back. The bullying got so much for my brother he left with nothing and decided to start again on his own. I managed to keep quiet and move away for university, where I've never felt more safe and comfortable. Stepmother would always brag how her own daughter is a genius with an action plan on how to take on life. She dropped out of university to have a child and lives off stepmother's income as a single mother now, makes no effort to change or have an action plan, but people started seeing through this, so now suddenly I'm the number one child? Me and my older brother went through significant abuse with our biological mother. It has left us with so many problems, trust issues, and put us both back in education. My older brother graduated his course 2 years ago and is now a qualified electrician. I, knowing the abuse he and I shared and know how hard it was for us to push through everything, I asked him if he would like to be one of my invitations to my graduation. Behold the problem. My dad is now refusing to come to my graduation, as I'm now excluding my stepmother, who's apparently been there for me since day one. We had a huge fighting match about it, how ungrateful I am for all the support she has apparently provided me, and that I'm going to be this selfish and a bit backslash about family, then I can go to my graduation on my own. So I may have turned around and told my dad that I'm no longer going to his wedding if he is going to behave like this. We are currently not on speaking terms, and my stepmother is psychically shoving me out of the way whenever I'm near the family and is also refusing to speak to me. Update 1. Currently looking for emergency accommodation after the stepmother upped her game and started putting on the pressure more. No longer than 2 nights ago I was making a sandwich in the kitchen and my father and stepmother pushed me out of the way so they could put their bike helmets on the chopping board of all places. Anyway, I asked if we had any mayonnaise in and my stepmother replied, "Stepmother, no, check yourself." Me, okay. She then glared at my father and for whatever reason he completely lost it and said the following statements: "You may need to reread the op for some context on some. You are such a victim, your whole life you are a victim just like your mother. All you cause around here is pain. Get the fuck out, I fucking hate you. You are the most unwanted person in this household right now, why the fuck are you here? Fuck off." He was stating all these comments while pointing and screaming in my face, my stepmother smirking in the background. I did have some absolutely nasty comments to say in my head, but I kept quiet. And replied, "I'm not speaking to you while you have your voice raised." To at which point my stepmother then got up in my face and said, "Ungrateful bitch, don't speak to your father like that," to whom I simply replied, "Sorry, who are you to think you can tell me what I can and cannot do?" To which my father launched himself at me. I'm unsure how far he was planning on going. My stepmother grabbed him and said, "Come on babe, we need a break from this toxic piece of work." After they left I started uncontrollably crying, and I rang my brother in complete panic begging him for advice on what to do. He drove to me as fast as he could and picked me and my pets up. He asked for me to find a friend to stay with tonight for my own safety. He then explains to me the reason why he left back in 2018. This exact thing, with the stepmother starting an argument and looking at my father for backup. My brother explained if I went back tonight he'd be worried the police may end up involved. This part comes with a trigger warning. As I stated in the op, my father has helped me through a lot in the past. When my mother was abusing myself and my older brother, he did his best to protect us. He helped me through short-term psychosis when I was 14 and was there for the recovery. Last night I felt like my safety net, the only parent I had left, the man I looked up to, was no longer there. I unfortunately got so emotionally distraught from everything that's happened since this upcoming of the wedding. I did go outside with a note and had intentions of no return. I will not go into details. I will say I'm extremely lucky a police officer spotted something off about me and came to my aid before it was too late. Before this happened I walked out of the house and to the end of my street. I was scared and in complete tears, to which then I spot my stepmother and father walking up the street coming towards the house. My father sees me and looks away in disgust, and my stepmother grabs her grandchild and screams across the street, "I love my family," then looks me dead in the eyes and smiles. This was the final hit for me and why I'm so grateful there was an observant police officer to save my life. So as of right now I do have an appointment to seek help on what happened above and me getting to that point. I'm utterly devastated and heartbroken that I'm having to walk away from the one last thing I felt safety in. It's extremely hard, and I will admit I am the biggest mess I've ever seen myself. While waiting for emergency accommodation I've confided into my room. I'm scared to make a noise. I'm sneaking around to use the bathroom and kitchen as I do not want another argument to spout out. Yes, obviously the wedding is a write-off for me. I did never think a wedding would cause this much pain. Thank you all for your kind comments on the previous post. I'm sorry for such an awful update. Here's hoping that things will get better. Oop, this is the really stupid part on my behalf. Only reason I moved back in with my father is he offered to let me live rent-free while I was saving for a house. My rent was ridiculously expensive. I'm still working alongside my studies. It's just finding a place that will accept my pets, and I at such short notice. I did originally leave shortly after my brother as I started noticing the problematic behavior from my stepmother. Update 2. I didn't go to any of the dress fittings, or events leading up to the wedding. I spent most of my time searching for future plans and a way to stabilize my life because this has been an absolute roller coaster I didn't need. We get to one day 24 hours before the wedding and my dad on his own knocks on my door. I'm really sorry about everything that's happened with the wedding and the pain it may have caused you, but I can't miss having my only daughter at my wedding. My childhood taught me not to hold grudges with people. It taught me to lower your expectations of people to avoid being hurt. Not entirely sure if that's a healthy outlook on life, but it has saved me a few times. I explained to my dad about the previous comments that he was made towards me, the medical comments all the way up to the fuck off comments from my first post. He holds out the most unflattering dress I've ever seen and continues, our stepmother chose this for you. I know she's not considered your body shape or anything with this dress, but it's all we have. I can see some of the malicious things she's done towards you and your older brother. To explain to you the dress, I'm a size UK 8, 5 feet 3 inches with an hourglass figure. The dress on me made me look like a rectangle. It was restraining on the butt area and I had to hold up the top half of the dress constantly. The dress was a cappuccino color and dragged across the floor and I kept tripping up in it just trying to show my dad how it looked on. My dad was mortified with my stepmother's choice. And said let's give it a touch. By that I think he meant adding my goth aesthetic to the dress. I was able to lift myself up with chunky Doc Martens and not the 3 pounds heels she had found for me at a charity shop, which were the wrong size, and she knows I've never worn heels in my life. I explained to my dad I'm still firm that I'm not going due to the wholly original reason this wedding turned into a hateful mess. He then explained to me that he was hurt that I was making sure I was excluding my stepmother from my graduation. Hold on, what the actual fuck? I never even thought by asking my brother to come that brings out that I was being malicious. I explained to my dad the reasoning of wanting my brother there, and it wasn't some backhanded way of telling my stepmother she can't come. I tell my dad, where the hell did he get this assumption? Yeah, you guys probably guessed it. The bride-to-be herself. This all happened 24 hours before the wedding. At this point me and my dad have now hashed out an agreement that I'll go to the wedding but can leave if I felt uncomfortable at any time. I get a text message from my brother wishing me good luck with Bitchzilla, as he will be only attending the wedding and not the events prior. The breakfast. Me, my dad, bride-to-be, stepsister and her daughter, F5, we will call the daughter Lily for less confusion, breed, to be had a photographer taking pictures of us eating breakfast? Not sure if that's something I'd agree with. I don't want people having a photo of me seagull swallowing eggs. The breakfast was mostly silent, besides my dad kept nudging me making sure I was okay. Meanwhile Lily started having a meltdown, angry that she wasn't the center of the attention, and start throwing forks at the bride. I decided to get up and walk outside as this was just anxiety inducing. My dad thanked me for staying with us and we continued with the day. The hair was an absolute nightmare and embarrassing. Bride was refusing to speak to me whatsoever, to the point she asked me to have my hair done in the separate area of the salon while stepsister and Lily got to stay with her. I didn't know if there was a code for the dresses or whatnot. I was so confused. When asked by the stylist I asked, I don't know. You're going to have to ask the bride to what I'm meant to have done. She goes off and returns with stepsister. Stepsister looks at me and says just do some curls, we don't care, to be honest. She stays for a few minutes and the stylist tries to have some small talk with me, asking if I had anything else planned, and I tried to talk about the upcoming UK festival I was planning to go to after the wedding, which was an absolute mud bath if anyone was wondering. Before I could finish my sentence stepsister laughs and speaks over me. Yeah, she's into all that emo screamy stuff, he the stylist. Oh, is she? That's so sweet. Me, just like what the actual fuck. I got a phone call when they were drowning me in hairspray and it was my dad. He had a last minute panic. My brother and his girlfriend had now dropped out of meeting and greeting the guests and begged me to do it. I've never heard my dad sound so stressed in my life, so I decided to agree. After all, it would save me having to spend more time with these guys. The makeup was done by the stepsister's friend. We drove to stepsister's house. Absolute anxiety when she pulled out mucky looking palettes from her car and brushes that could start a sandstorm if flicked. I don't really wear a lot of makeup or wouldn't even be able to tell you more than what is an eyeshadow and foundation. Again, stepsister just said fix her and I was absolutely blasted with the entire shop floor of makeup. I felt so uncomfortable and embarrassed how much they had sculptured my face. The lashes were so long I couldn't put my glasses back on. The photographer was there. She taking pictures of the makeup being done, etc. This is a key moment. Bride pulled out gifts for the three of us. To my beautiful daughter, thank you so much for being in my life. Hugs, kisses, photos. To my beautiful granddaughter, thank you so much for being in my life. Hugs, kisses, photos. Thanks for coming. Throws gift at me with disgust. Photos, yep, that happened. When we got the wedding photos back, the absolute bombshell that caused. I'll get to that in a moment. My dad then drove up to the house and picked me up. Here's where things get fun. The weather was wet and storming to add to the drama. Dad was in panic beyond words that my brother had dropped out from greeting the guests. I was given 5 minutes to get ready. I throw on the dress I literally have hold up and put on the boots. My dad gave me a huge hug and gave me instructions on what to do. Please keep in mind I'm the most introverted person these people know, so this was a big ask. I arrive at the venue and started greeting people. Everyone was stunned to see me. There was a weird rift of "that's not her? Oh my god, it is her." in the room. I had the entire party both on the bride's side and groom's side tell me what a glow up to see me in a dress and that I looked stunning. I don't normally wear dresses, this was the first for a lot of them. I did the instructions which my dad gave me, which was pour drinks, make sure everyone's comfortable, etc, etc. My brother then arrives and mingles for around 10-15 minutes before coming to me and stating everyone is talking about how well you look, bride is not going to be happy. I shrug it off and continue to make sure everyone's happy. My dad then turns up and the wedding is about to begin. My dad hugs me and thanks me again and again for how grateful he is. My brother isn't too happy as he thinks I've not stood my ground. The wedding goes off pretty well, and I'm also happy because I was mostly on bartending duty as orders of the bride. This is another key moment. The wedding is talked about for about a week straight after the event, and again people kept asking about how I managed to make such a show. No idea how I did that in a rectangle dress, but here we are. The photos were then sent to my dad and stepmother. The arguments they caused. I'm unsure if the photographer did this on purpose, but she and her husband caught every time stepmother, bride, was horrible to me, the breakfast, the gifts, me being in a separate area in the salon, everything. Then Therese, me only being one photo of me and my dad, because as you all know I was busy bartending free of charge to their guests. I was asked to leave the room and a huge major argument shot out. The next day a brand new motorbike was wheeled into the drive as a graduation/sorry present. My dad explained how sorry he was for never seeing this, and is now coming to my graduation with absolutely no issue if bride joins him or not. Since then he's been on this sorry train trying to make up for what's happened. Even on my birthday he isolated both of us and we spent the day doing things I love. Poor guy had to learn to rock climb with me. As of right now stepmother, bride, is avoiding me and avoiding trying to hurt me after the wedding. My brother is upset with men because he feels I took the motorbike as a bribe for my father's poor behavior. I do accept his point of view, and the way my father treated me was unforgivable. But this wedding was blessing in disguise. It showed my dad how cruel the woman is to his children. I will do one more update for the graduation that wouldn't be till November though. I can't thank you all enough for your kind comments. It's helped me see through this awful situation. Until then I wish you all the best. Edit. After reading your comments I just wanted to make a few things clear. I didn't see the bike as a bribe. It was only until my brother said it in that light it's come forward too. I agree with all of you. I need to walk away from this vicious cycle. 3. I'll be taking some time off to prepare myself to have the strength to walk away for good again. Thank you for bearing with me on this story. It means a lot to have an outside insight that's guiding me out of this problem. 4. I will make an effort to step away from my family for my own good and side with my brother. 5. Update 3. I decided to go to my brother and show him the threads and posts. We both just want to make some things clear. We are both on talking terms. My brother is happy I went to the wedding because it shone a light on the bride being toxic, and his opinion outside people are now looking in, especially after the wedding photos and how I had to handle the jobs. He also states that he didn't expect me to walk away there and then, as there is 23 now 24 years of hooks in me to keep me staying under my dad's control. It's going to take some setbacks to come out of this as strong as possible. I've agreed with him to seek help to try and grow a backbone to be able to set and keep boundaries and start to peel away from him for good. And I just wanted to apologize to everyone who's been following this post how clueless I was on the bribe. I keep holding on to a memory of a father who clearly isn't there anymore, and this is the wake-up call I needed to get up and move on. Thank you all for your advice and support throughout this roller coaster. I'm sorry that I let a lot of people down by backing on my words. I feel so awful about how I handled the situation. I really want to fix things and finally start living for me and not in an abusive situation, no matter what the driver for your actions. I suspect you'll be better prepared for your solo launch. Don't look at the motorbike as a bribe. Look at it as compensation for historical abuse. You owe nothing in return. Take every opportunity to set up yourself for your future solo success. You deserve it. When you launch on your own, don't feel guilty and like you have make everyone comfortable with it. Not your job, not your burden, not your problem. Focus on you and your needs. It may be overwhelming, but it will get easier. And once you can breathe freely, don't get fixated on how you've been wronged. Time has a way of balancing the scales without you nudging it along. Now on to second story. Showed my brother a fake photo of him with Harry Potter to cheer him up after our cancelled trip, and he believed it for 14 years. When my younger brother, 20 now, was 6, he went through a huge Harry Potter phase. He loved the wizarding world and believed he might meet Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, or the other characters on a family trip to Scotland since Hogwarts was there. No one promised him this, but he convinced himself it could happen. Sadly, the trip was cancelled after our grandpa passed away, and my brother was devastated for both reasons. To cheer him up, I decided to craft a souvenir. I was 16 and had just discovered Photoshop, so I edited a picture of my brother with Daniel Radcliffe to make it look like they'd met. I printed it, framed it, and gave it to him without telling him it was fake. He loved it and fully believed he'd met Daniel. Soon, he had an entire story about the meeting, what they talked about, how Daniel hugged him, etc. It was so sweet, and none of us, my family and I, had the heart to tell him the truth. Fast forward 14 years, and my brother still didn't know that the old, low-quality picture of him meeting Daniel Radcliffe is fake. I never LD him because his memory of the fake meeting felt so real to him that it became one of his proudest stories. Over time the memory became less important and the framed picture had been packed away in some box, and my brother has long outgrown his Harry Potter obsession. Yesterday, however, we were at our parents' home and we were bringing up old memories. You know how it goes. The story of meeting Daniel Radcliffe came up, and thinking it was harmless, I told him the truth. I thought he'd laugh, but instead he got visibly upset. He didn't want to believe me at first, thinking I was messing with him. I told him the real story of how and why I did it. He told me that it feels like I robbed him of a real childhood memory that he really cherished, and he feels embarrassed thinking about all the times he's told people about meeting Daniel Radcliffe in person, even recently. We ended our conversation on a semi-good note, though. I apologized for not telling him sooner, because I do feel bad that it meant so much to him even now. But I don't regret it. Back then, it made him so happy during a rough time, and I don't regret giving him that joy. I just didn't realize how much it still meant to him. So I'm just wondering, or was, I the a-hole? NTA. It's like Santa. You did it with good intentions and he never met him. He was 6, now he is 20. Maybe disappointing, but he's 20 years old. It would be worse to continue the fantasy for an adult. I am sure no one ever thought at the time this would be the result 14 years later. Sounds like he just never got the memo it wasn't real. Much worse things that can happen as an adult. I don't get why people are comparing this to Santa. This feels so extreme that everyone kept up this lie for so long. You're almost 10 years older than him. Why didn't you or anyone else tell him sooner? Your grandfather died. He was a child grieving. This false memory would have been so easy for a young kid to cling onto in the midst of all that. It seems so cruel to do this for years. ESH, except your brother. Uda for not telling him sooner. This is not like Santa or the Easter Bunny or unicorns or anything like that. This is something that could have actually happened and there was no way for him to know it didn't really happen. There are better ways to cheer up a kid than lying to them. This is seriously insane that you allowed this to go on for so long. If my family had told me I met someone or had visited a specific country as a kid and had a photo that looked real, I would absolutely believe it. I don't have much of a memory at that age, and anyone who says they actually do probably have false memories like your sibling. Update 1. Apparently, the consensus is that I'm kind of an a-hole, but like a well-meaning one? I'll take it. The thing that amused me the most, though, was how everyone just assumed I'm my brother's older brother. For the record, I never said that. Could be his sister, could be his sibling. It's 2024, people, let's not default to dudes all the time. Anyways, a lot of people told me to find a way to contact Daniel Radcliffe for real and get some kind of message to my brother. While I appreciate the ambition, I don't exactly have Daniel's number lying around, and cold calling celebrities isn't in my skill set. Besides, I figured my brother might appreciate a bit of humor over me spiraling into some overly elaborate apology plan. We hadn't seen each other since my post, but we finally met up Saturday, and I brought him a new photoshopped picture of 20-year-old him with Daniel Radcliffe, captioned "Reunited at Last." I just made it on my phone, and thankfully, he loved it, and definitely doesn't think it's real this time. Seriously though, we had another conversation about the whole situation. My brother said it was still crappy to find out like this, and so late, but that he appreciates me telling the truth. I asked him about the memory and how it felt so real to him, since a low sea of comments were wondering that too. He said that, looking back, it's possible he knew it wasn't real at first but started telling a story about it to impress his friends, and somewhere along the way, he started believing his own hype. I also told him about the Reddit post, and we had a good laugh reading through some of the comments together. But when I jokingly asked if I could share either photo, he gave me a hard no.